Hi folks, Cosmo Fox Off-Road. Today I want to give you a walk around of our 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee we call Z-Beast. This is a 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee 5.9 Limited. So Z-Beast has the 5.9 liter engine, which is basically the 360 Mopar engine, making it the hot rod of the time. And our particular one has been modified. We blew a head gasket a couple years ago and took the opportunity to put in a cam and a couple upgrades to rev it up through the Products of Hughes engines. So we've done a number of modifications to this, one of which is being a roll cage. I actually completely gutted the inside of the truck to build a roll cage. I have to say I was really proud when I did the roll cage. I did completely gut the interior to build the roll cage. And in building the roll cage, I wanted it all tied in. I did that. But I was able to, in the way that I took the interior out and the way I built the roll cage, I built it high and tight to get it away from our heads so that we wouldn't be bumping into it. And then I also was able to get about 80% of the interior back in the truck, which really makes it quite nice for riding around. It becomes a luxury pre-runner at that point. So I want to go over some of the features on the inside of the truck, both to make it more comfortable, to make it safer, and make it more useful for us. We have a number of things that we did. One is obviously 4-point harnesses. When you're going fast, you want to make sure that, one, you've got yourself belted in tight so that you're not moving around and losing control of where you are, so that you can focus on driving the truck. And two, if something should happen, you want to be fast and securely so you don't get into the roll cage. We did pad the roll cage. I did drop the seats. I've done a number of things to try and make it as safe as possible, but the 4-point harness definitely makes a difference. Another feature that you might not find as often, but is a simple thing that adds a lot of comfort, is a dead pedal. Both sides have dead pedals, and those give you something to brace against when you're bouncing down the road. One of the things that's kind of cool that I integrated into this truck that I had in my Baja Bug is an adjustable light bar. Up here on the console, I've got all the switches for the lights, as well as a switch that allows me to adjust the angle of the light bar from inside the truck. So when you're going really, really fast, you put the light bar way out in front so you can see what you're doing and get a long distance view. And then if you're following someone and you're in the dust, you can crank it down low, pierce through the dust, and still be able to see where you're going. So if we take a look in the back of the truck, we'll find I've designed the roll cage in such a way that we can still have backseat passengers. Fox really wanted us to be able to have people in the backseat. We have done that in the past, and the roll cage works out in such a way that it kind of works out being a grab handle for the people in the back seat, and that's kind of nice. Additionally, we've got our baby seat, which has our power tank. That allows us to air back up when we air the tires down. Going off-road, a lot of times, either for extra traction or for comfort, you want to lower the pressure in the tires, and the power tank is a phenomenal way to air them back up. It's very quick and quiet, so I appreciate that. So in choosing the wheels for Z-Beast, I was very specific in what I chose. I didn't go with a really expensive aluminum beadlock. We don't do really extreme off-roading, but we do like to go fast, like I said, and we like to lower the air pressure. In order to make sure that we didn't lose a bead on the trail, I chose these Bassett. Basically, they're an IMCA wheel. They're very similar to what they run in the NASCAR Cup Series. They're a steel wheel, but these are DOT approved, so they actually have a thicker construction than the race wheel. The race wheel is kind of thin, but what they have is they have a ridge right here that helps retain the bead. It's a lot bigger than on a standard wheel. And one of the nicest features for an off-road truck is they put the valve stem behind the wheel center. So if you're going through rocks and roots and branches and stuff, you're not as likely to get the wheel stem, or the valve stem rather, pulled off of the wheel. So the suspension on this truck is probably where it really shines. We like to go fast. We came up through Baja Bugs in our off-roading endeavors, and so when I built this truck, I wanted to be able to continue to drive fast on the roads that merit it, but still be able to pull it into 4-low and crawl over the more technical things. So as such, I built it with a long arm suspension through Clayton off-road. After doing a lot of research, I found that they had probably the most robust and best designed long arm system. It has a cross member that replaces the original transmission cross member. It's all made out of 1/4-inch steel, and that becomes the front suspension points. And then the back suspension points are actually tied together with a piece of subframe. It basically makes a frame out of the suspension points and the connecting pieces. So it becomes a very strong center for the vehicle. Since this is a unibody, it has really no frame, but it's all stamped steel. I've added parts in here to beef up that unibody frame and help it withstand the rigors of going fast. If you catch air in a unibody truck, normally it's going to fold the body and cause a lot of irreparable damage. And so we need to beef this up. We needed to strengthen the frame, strengthen the core, put in the roll cage to be able to have a strong enough truck to be able to drive the way we want to drive. You'll also notice that the frame is tied in multiple places along the A pillar, the B pillar, and the D pillar. There's plates with dimple-dyed holes that are welded to the unibody and to the roll cage to tie it all in together and make it one common structure, and put a lot of structure in here so that the body doesn't flex and you don't wind up with doors that won't close or that pop open when you're going down the trail, which is what happens with these trucks sometimes when they're modified and not beefed up properly. The smooth ride is helped out with Rubicon Express 4.5-inch springs, along with Fox 2.0 Performance Series shocks. I did extensive modifications to the front axle, including moving the spring perches to push the axle forward and make more room for the tires, building a beefier track mount, and also trussing the axle and adding C-gussets. The upper truss is from Artec Industry, and the lower truss I decided was needed for the type of shock loads this is going to get if we actually jump it. I wanted to have the bottom braced and added a truss down there on the bottom as well. One of the tricks to having a good ride off-road is controlling the bottoming action. A lot of people use air bumps or hydraulic bump stops, and they can be $200 a corner for those fancy parts. I found some rubber springs from Timbren that work in a progressive way. These springs go from 1,100 pounds per inch to 4,400 pounds per inch in the course of 1 7/8 inches. Articulation was greatly improved with the addition of some JKS quicker disconnects. These allow us to disconnect the sway bar and allow the front end to move independently from side to side. These Jeeps have an aluminum Dana 44, which is plenty strong, but some people worry about the axle tubes spinning in the center section. So I built a diff skid that's integrated with a brace that goes around the entire circumference of the rear pan and also ties into the truss to keep that from happening. So I decided to build my own bumpers for this truck, and much like previous bumpers that I've built, I made a plate construction bumper and chose to TIG weld the bumper and leave the welds exposed rather than grind them off. I take a lot of pride in my welding and like it to show, and spent a lot of time trying to design a bumper that would be aesthetically pleasing, as well as, tucked up, has good recovery points, and contains the winch. If you look, the winch is really tucked down in there. It's nice and tight, and access is limited. In order to put the winch in, there are holes behind the license plate to allow you to get to the winch bolts, but it allows everything to be really tight and compact and aesthetically quite pleasing because you don't see all that mounting stuff. So the paint job on this truck is another point of pride for me. This is a 4-color paint job that I had been dreaming about for several years. I had this color scheme in mind. I had the basic paint scheme in mind. And this is the first time that I actually used and created a proper rendering to make the paint job. I made this rendering and kind of studied it and modified it until I was happy with the paint scheme. And then actually used that when it came time to tape off the truck, because with all of these stripes and figuring out which side of what piece of tape a given color is going to be, it was very useful to have a diagram to go by. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed this walk around of Z-Beast and an inside look at some of the design and fabrication that I did to make this truck work for the way we wanted it to work. Obviously there are people that are hardcore rock crawlers that would like bigger axles, bigger wheels and tires, those sorts of things. We want to be able to go and crawl over some stuff, but we also want to be able to go fast. So this truck is a compromise and works very well for what we want out of it, and it's become a luxury pre-runner that we just love driving. So as always, if you like my stuff, please like and subscribe. I think that's going to do it for this video. So for now, happy trails.